Hi there. This is a channel where we share all kinds of stories about life and relationships. Sometimes funny, sometimes sad, but always honest. Make yourself comfortable. There's a lot of interesting stuff ahead. I never thought I would end up writing all of this down, but maybe telling the story in my own words is the only way I can begin to process it. I met her when she was 18, and I had just turned 21. It was the kind of meeting that felt destined, like something out of a movie, and for the first time in my life, I felt what people call love at first sight. Her smile disarmed me immediately. Her laugh drew me in even further, and before I knew it, I was completely taken by her presence. We told each other we loved each other only 2 weeks later, and strangely enough, it didn't feel rushed or naive. It felt natural, like the truth we had both been searching for had simply arrived without warning. I'll call her B for now, because even writing her real name feels like reopening a wound that hasn't even begun to scar. Back then, the world felt full of possibilities, and every plan I made somehow included her. Not long after, I had to move to New York City to begin my career. The timing was difficult, but we promised each other that distance wouldn't change anything. And for a long while, it didn't. We made it work, calls every night, weekend trips once or twice a month. And when the pandemic hit, we suddenly had the chance to spend even more time together. She became my reason for pushing through the grind of work, my reminder that the sacrifices I was making had meaning, and my quiet answer to the question, what's the point? For me, the point was her, but B had her own struggles. She had depressive episodes, sometimes sparked by drama with friends, sometimes from deeper wounds she never fully explained, and sometimes the sadness just came without any clear reason at all, like a storm that couldn't be predicted or stopped. She started school in 2019, and then COVID hit, stripping away the college experiences she had been dreaming of. Her school's strict safety rules kept her isolated, and she often talked about feeling like she was missing out on life. She compared herself constantly to her friends, girls with tattoos, edgy haircuts, bold styles. She told me once, I just feel shallow compared to everyone else, like I don't have depth. I held her face in my hands that night and whispered, you're the deepest person I know, B. You just don't see it. But she didn't always believe me. Looking back, I can see now how lost she felt in her own skin, how she craved an identity that felt unique, and how that search sometimes drove her to reckless places. Somewhere along the way, I started suspecting that she might be bipolar. The shifts in mood, the intensity of her highs and lows, it all made sense, even if we never had a clinical diagnosis. But despite the struggles, we held on. 2 years into our relationship, I finally got the chance to move back to the city near where we had gone to college. I couldn't wait. I thought I was finally coming home, not just to a place, but to her. At first, I made the decision to live with my parents to save money. In theory, it was practical. In reality, it turned me into someone unrecognizable. I stayed inside all day, stopped shaving, lost ambition, gained weight, and slipped into a version of myself that didn't reflect who I wanted to be. I didn't realize it at the time, but this was around when the infidelity began. She started expressing doubts about us in October of 2021. She told me she needed space, more time with friends, less pressure. She said school was overwhelming and she couldn't keep her job anymore. I thought I was being supportive. Don't worry about it, I told her. I'll take care of you. Just focus on your studies. So I started paying for her expenses. And because the drive to my parents' house was inconvenient, I decided to rent a $3,500 a month apartment in the city after Christmas. I believed that once we lived closer, things would improve. I thought, this is just a rough patch. Once I quit smoking, get back in shape, and find my old ambition, we'll be better than ever. After Christmas, I surprised her with a trip to the Caribbean for spring break. When she woke up and I told her, her eyes lit up, and she kissed me with that same intensity she had when we first met. In that moment, I felt hopeful. I told myself, she's the one. Whatever it takes, I'll keep us together. But little signs began to creep in. She started disappearing on random nights. We used to call each other every night before bed, but suddenly, she would fall asleep studying or say her phone died. She'd go out drinking and wouldn't text me when she got home. No silly messages, no check-ins. One night she came over, and I noticed her phone lock screen was no longer a picture of me. I wanted to ignore it all. Suspicion felt like poison, and I told myself I'd rather stay blind than destroy what we had. I doubled down instead, planning brunches, dinners, new experiences, trying to recreate the magic we used to have. But inside, the panic grew. One night in particular still haunts me. She went to a concert and I texted her at 8 p.m. No reply. At 10, she finally answered, "On my way." But she didn't come home until 2 a.m., even though the venue was 10 minutes away. When she finally walked in, I couldn't breathe. I was trembling, on the verge of collapse, and when I confronted her, she swore nothing had happened. She looked me in the eyes and said, "I promise you, I've never cheated. I swear." I wanted to believe her so badly that I let her words replace reality. Then came the trip, the Caribbean. We swam, laughed, made love, and for a few days it felt like I had her back. On the last night, though, everything changed. She fell asleep, and I stumbled onto her Reddit posts. I don't know what made me check, but what I found unsettled me. Strange posts, messages that hinted at loneliness, at desires she hadn't shared with me. It drove me to check her phone, something I'd sworn I'd never do. And that's when I saw it. Emails showing she had downloaded Tinder multiple times between November and February. My stomach dropped. I woke her up in a panic. "B, what the hell is this?" I asked, my voice shaking. She shot up, her eyes wide with fear. "What do you mean?" I shoved the phone in her face. "You've been on Tinder? Since November? What's going on?" She broke down instantly, sobbing, grabbing my hands, begging. "I swear, I never cheated. Please, please believe me. I don't know why I did it. I was lonely, I was stupid, I was insecure. But I never met anyone, I promise." I didn't know what to believe. I asked her to swear on her family's life because I thought that would be the one thing she couldn't lie about. And she did. She looked me in the eyes, tears streaming down her face, and swore. And like a fool, I let that be enough. The months that followed felt like a return to normal. I was hurt, yes, but I loved her more than my own dignity, and I brushed off what I'd seen. In May, she moved in with me, and living together was amazing. We laughed constantly, cooked together, made plans for the future. I thought, we survived it. Whatever that was, we survived it. But then July came, the 4th of July at her parents' house. We were scrolling through old photos, laughing, reminiscing, until one picture popped up, a sexual picture, one she couldn't possibly have taken herself. My blood went cold. "B, what the hell is this?" I asked, her face drained of color. "That's not me," she said quickly, but I knew every inch of her body, and I knew that was her. The timestamp read February 1st. Finally, she cracked. She told me she'd been taken advantage of by some guy. For a moment, I wanted to believe it, because anger at someone else felt easier than facing betrayal. But then I looked again at the picture and doubt crept in. A few days later, I went through her phone again, and that's when the full truth came crashing down. It wasn't one guy, one time. It was several people, over a period of 4 months. 5 different men. One she saw multiple times, all while I was paying for her gas, planning our vacation, trying desperately to save what I thought we still had. Couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The room spun as I realized that everything I had ignored, all the signs I had pushed away, had been real all along. She had betrayed me while I was building a future for us. And yet, the cruelest part is this: even after all of it, I still wanted her. Even now, I hate that she's not in my life. I hate that I still miss her, that I still wake up expecting her to be beside me. And I hate that, deep down, if she walked back into my life right now, I would forgive her. After the truth came out, my world tilted in a way I couldn't control. I remember sitting on the floor of my apartment, my head buried in my hands, my chest heaving like I couldn't draw in enough air. She sat across from me, crying, repeating the same phrases over and over. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please, Please believe me when I say I didn't mean to hurt you." Her voice cracked, her tears fell freely, but all I could hear was the sound of my heart breaking into pieces too small to ever put back together. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab her and shake her and demand to know why. Instead, my voice came out as a whisper. "5 people, B. 5. She nodded slowly, like a child being scolded, her shoulders trembling. I know I ruined everything." The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, I managed to say, "Do you have any idea what this feels like? To realize I was paying for the gas you used to drive to them? To know I was planning a trip for us while you were with someone else?" Her sobs grew louder, but her words didn't change. "I can't take it back. I wish I could. Please, I'll do anything." I cut her off with a shout I didn't even recognize as my own. "Anything? You already did everything. You burned down everything we built." She flinched, curling into herself like she was bracing for another blow. I turned away, my chest on fire, my throat raw. How do you look at the person you thought was your soulmate and reconcile them with a stranger who destroyed you? That night, I didn't sleep. She lay beside me, curled up, her back turned, her quiet sobs filling the dark room. I stared at the ceiling until the sun rose, my mind replaying every memory, every kiss, every laugh, now all tainted. The morning came, but nothing felt new. I dragged myself out of bed, made coffee I couldn't drink, and tried to focus on work, but my eyes blurred over every spreadsheet. I couldn't stop seeing her face, hearing her voice, feeling the phantom of her touch. When she finally got up, her voice was timid. "Do you want me to leave?" I didn't know what I wanted. Part of me wanted her gone forever. Another part wanted to hold her so tightly she'd never slip away again. "Just don't talk to me right now," I muttered. She nodded, moving silently through the apartment, like a ghost afraid to disturb the living. The days that followed blurred together. We coexisted, but barely. She would try to reach for me and I would pull away. She would cry and I would sit in silence. At night, I'd hear her whisper into the pillow, "Please don't hate me. Please don't hate me." But I did, and I didn't. Both truths lived inside me, tearing me apart. One evening, about a week later, I finally broke the silence. We were sitting on the couch, the TV flickering in the background, neither of us paying attention. I turned to her, my voice low but firm. "Why?" She looked at me, her eyes red and swollen, her lips trembling. "I don't know," she whispered. "Don't give me that," I snapped. "You didn't just trip and fall into 5 different beds. Why, B? What did I do to deserve this?" She grabbed her knees, hugging them to her chest. "It wasn't about you," she said, her voice shaking. "It was about me. I felt empty. I felt broken. I wanted to feel something. I thought if I could just escape for a little while, I'd come back to you whole again." Her explanation didn't heal me, cut deeper. "So you used me as your anchor while you drowned yourself in other people?" Her tears spilled again, and she whispered, "I know I don't deserve forgiveness." I laughed bitterly. "Forgiveness? I don't even know if I can look at you without seeing all of them." She reached out then, placing her hand on mine. For a moment, I didn't move. Then I yanked my hand away, standing up, pacing the living room like a caged animal. "Do you know what the worst part is?" I said, my voice breaking. She looked up, silent, waiting. "The worst part is that I still love you." Her face crumpled, and she whispered, "I still love you too." But love felt poison now, a chain around my neck instead of wings on my back. Nights became the hardest. When I was alone in the dark, I thought about her with them. I pictured her laughing with them, touching them, whispering to them the same words she once whispered to me. It drove me insane. I'd toss and turn, sometimes getting up in the middle of the night to pace the apartment, my mind screaming at me, my chest heavy with rage and longing. One night, around 3 a.m., I finally asked her the question that had been haunting me. "Did you ever think of me when you were with them?" She was half asleep, but she opened her eyes, her voice groggy. "Yes, always." That single word, always. felt like both a knife and a bomb. Always, always thinking of me, yet still choosing to betray me. The contradiction made me want to scream. The following weekend, we had to fly to my sister's wedding. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to pretend everything was fine when inside I was unraveling. But she begged, "Please, don't shut me out from your family. Not yet." So we went. At the wedding, I plastered on a smile, made small talk, toasted to love, all while feeling like a fraud. When my sister hugged me and whispered, "You look so happy," I nearly broke down on the spot. Happy? I was dying inside. The entire trip, B acted as if nothing had happened. She held my hand, kissed my cheek, laughed at my jokes. To everyone else, we were the perfect couple. Only I knew the rot beneath the surface. On the flight home, I stared out the window, watching the clouds drift by, wondering how something so beautiful could exist in a world where love could hurt this much. I thought about leaving her. I thought about telling her it was over, that I couldn't live with the constant images in my head, the constant ache in my chest. But when I turned to look at her, asleep against my shoulder, her face soft and peaceful, I felt that same pull I always had, couldn't let go, and that terrified me more than anything. Back at home, things settled into a strange rhythm. We laughed sometimes, we fought often, we made love, but even that was tainted. I couldn't stop wondering who else had touched her like this, who else she had whispered to in the dark. One night after, I lay awake while she slept, my chest hollow. I whispered into the dark, "Why am I not enough?" The silence answered back, louder than any words. Weeks passed and I tried to date again. Friends told me, "You need to move on, meet someone new. Don't let her destroy your future." So I did. I went on dates. I smiled, asked questions, tried to listen. But every girl felt flat. Every laugh felt forced. Every story dull compared to her. I would sit there, nodding, while inside I screamed, "You're not her. You'll never be her." I hated myself for it. Why couldn't I let go of the one person who shattered me? Why did my self-worth feel chained to her presence? I knew logically that love shouldn't be like this, that true love doesn't leave scars this deep. But logic didn't matter to my heart. The heart doesn't care about reason. It only remembers the way she smiled that first night, the way she whispered, "I love you," after 2 weeks, the way she kissed me on the beach in the Caribbean like I was the only man alive. And it wants that back, even if it kills me. Sometimes I wonder if that's exactly what it will do. I kept asking myself the same question over and over again. Why do I still want her? It was a loop in my head, a broken record I couldn't stop from playing. She betrayed me in the most brutal way, yet my chest still ached for her. Every morning, I woke up expecting to feel her next to me, and every morning, the cold emptiness of the bed reminded me she wasn't mine anymore. I hated her for what she did, but I hated myself more for not being able to let go. Some nights, when the pain got too heavy, I poured myself a drink and stared at the ceiling, whispering, "You ruined me, B." And in the silence that followed, my heart whispered back, "But I still love you." I remember one night in particular. She came over to pick up some things she had left at the apartment. Her hair was tied back, and she wore one of those oversized sweaters that always made her look fragile, almost childlike. Seeing her again hit me like a punch to the gut. I tried to keep my composure, tried to act like I was unaffected. But when our eyes met, the mask cracked. "Hi," she said softly. I swallowed hard. "Hey." We moved around each other awkwardly, like strangers forced into the same room. Finally, she paused, holding one of her old books in her hands, and looked at me. "I think about you every day," she whispered. The words shattered me. I laughed bitterly, shaking my head. "Then why isn't that enough, B? Why wasn't I enough?" Her eyes filled with tears. "You were. You always were. I broke something inside myself, and I dragged you down with me. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to demand answers that would make sense. Instead, I asked the question that burned the most. Do you still love me? She hesitated, her lips trembling, then finally whispered, Yes, the word stabbed me because it wasn't the solution I wanted. It was just another weight on the chain around my heart. Yes, she loved me, but she still left. But she still betrayed me. But she still destroyed us. I turned away, covering my face with my hands. I don't know how to carry this anymore, I admitted, my voice breaking. She set the book down, walked closer, and for a second, I thought she was going to hug me. But then she stopped, just a step away, like some invisible barrier kept her from touching me. I can't forgive myself, she whispered, and I don't think you ever should either. Tears blurred my vision as I looked at her. She was right. I couldn't forgive her, but I also couldn't forget her. When she finally walked out the door that night, carrying the last of her things, it felt like the final page of a book I didn't want to finish. The silence that followed was unbearable. I sat there for hours, staring at the empty space she had left behind. Eventually, I stood up, walked into the bathroom, and looked at myself in the mirror. The man staring back was a stranger. Dark circles under his eyes, unshaven face, hollow expression. "Who are you?" I whispered. I didn't have an answer. The following weeks were some of the darkest of my life. Work consumed me, but even in 12-hour days, I couldn't escape her ghost. Every street reminded me of her. Every restaurant held memories. Every song on the radio stabbed me with recollections of nights spent driving together, singing like idiots, hands intertwined. One evening, after a particularly brutal day at work, I went for a walk through the city. I ended up at the park where we once had a picnic. I sat on the same bench where she had leaned against me, her head on my shoulder, telling me she wanted forever. I closed my eyes, and for a moment, I could almost feel her there again. Almost. But when I opened my eyes, the bench was empty, and the night air was cold. That's when I realized something painful but necessary. I wasn't missing her. I was missing who I thought she was. I was in love with a version of her that never truly existed, or at least didn't last. The girl who whispered forever was not the same woman who betrayed me, and I had to choose which version I wanted to keep living with in my mind. That night, I made a promise to myself, not to forget her, not to forgive her, but to stop letting her define my worth. The next morning, I woke up early, shaved, and forced myself to go for a run. Every step was heavy, every breath painful, but it was something, a start. Over time, I began to reclaim little pieces of myself, cooking my own meals instead of ordering takeout, reaching out to old friends I had neglected, spending weekends visiting my family. It didn't erase the pain, but it reminded me that my life wasn't over. One night, a friend asked me bluntly, "Do you think you'll ever get back together with her?" I froze, the question hanging in the air. Finally, I shook my head. "No," I said quietly, "because even if I wanted to, she doesn't want me anymore. And maybe that's the only gift she's ever given me, the chance to finally let go." My friend nodded, but I could see the pity in his eyes. And honestly, I pitied myself too. But slowly, the pity turned into determination. I didn't want to be defined by heartbreak. I didn't want to spend the rest of my life chasing ghosts. Yes, I was terrified of ending up like the men in my industry, mid-30s, wealthy, but with nothing but shallow relationships to show for it. But I also knew that the only way to avoid that was to rebuild myself, to find worth outside of someone else's love. I wish I could tell you I've fully healed. I haven't. I still miss her sometimes. I still wake up with her name on my lips. I still dream of the way she laughed. But I also wake up now with a sense of choice. A choice to keep going, to keep building, to keep living. And maybe that's all healing really is, not forgetting the pain, but choosing every day not to let it consume you. Sometimes, when the night is quiet, I imagine running into her years from now. She'll smile, and I'll smile back, but the weight between us will be gone. We'll be two people who once loved deeply, who once destroyed each other, but who both survived. Until then, I keep walking, one step at a time, one breath at a time. And for the first time in a long time, I believe that maybe, just maybe, I'll be okay.